What happened, deep in the hidden eras before history began, that could affect the human race so evenly as to give the entire species a deep, instinctual, and lasting fear of pale beings with dark, sunken eyes, razor-sharp teeth, and elongated faces? This quote comes from an old creepypasta called Genetic Memory, and touches on features many monsters have in horror stories. Traits such as sharp teeth, deathly paleness, and sunken eyes. Vampires are just one type of creature that comes to mind when these traits are brought up. Japanese horror author Junji Ito's works are full of these kinds of creatures, beings that peer at the other characters and seemingly even the reader. Take a story fashion model, for example. A grotesque being with an elongated face and sharp teeth is attempting to blend in during a photo shoot as the model, with only the main character noticing these disturbing traits. Even things we know aren't human and won't hurt us can be cause for concern. Have you ever seen a mannequin or a statue in dim light and found it eerie? It does seem strange that so many different beings across media and even real life could spark the same kind of spine-tingling sensation. Where does this come from? And what do we know about it? This fear-fueled reaction is triggered by a psychological response often called the Uncanny Valley. There's still a lot to be understood about the phenomena, with most explanations being psychological or regarding our past. The idea of the Uncanny Valley comes from a man named Masahiro Mori, who was a robotic expert in Japan in the 1970s, who observed that there is a spectrum of human reactions to human-like objects and depictions. To go along with this is a graph, with human likeness as a spectrum on the x-axis. The closer to 100% something is, the more human-like it is. The y-axis then demonstrates a person's reaction to it, with the higher slope indicating someone likes it. If the slope drops, that indicates a dislike or possibly discomfort with that depiction. For example, you would probably place an action figure or a Barbie near the left side of the x-axis. A Barbie is a fun toy that sparks enthusiasm from the player. Near the 100% right side, you would place someone you find attractive, maybe a celebrity or your significant other. In that downward sloped region would go Tara, the talking mannequin from that I Feel Fantastic video. After 12 years, it still gives me the fucking creeps. And, in a way, Mori would agree with the sentiment, as he proposed a second slope to demonstrate movement. Mori added the movement line due to his own experiences in 1970 at a robotics expo in Osaka. To him, a moving, uncanny being, such as a zombie, is far more revolting than a stationary corpse. So, why do we react like this? Oddly enough, although the Uncanny Valley is a well-known phenomenon today, with movies such as Smile taking advantage of it, that wasn't always the case. When the graph and paper were first published in Japan, it hardly gained any attention. It wasn't until the mid-2000s that robotics researchers, as well as entertainers and animation artists in the West, took notice after the translation of the article was published. The original essay written by Mori was more of a venting of his thoughts and feelings on the subject, rather than any original research into his ideas. Because of this, there is still quite a bit of research to be done as to why we react to human-like things in this way. That being said, there are several theories floating about attempting to explain what could have caused such an instinctual reaction. There are a few explanations, including that the Uncanny Valley's purpose is to warn us of dangers, including beings close to human, but not quite. While I'd like to believe this refers to shape-shifting aliens or maybe a skinwalker, it's not as exciting an explanation. Rather, a long time ago, us Homo sapiens coexisted with other hominids. It seems a little odd to think creatures similar to humans roamed the earth with our ancestors, but they did, possibly as recent as 40,000 years ago. There are a few theories as to why only us Homo sapiens made it to the modern day. Climate changes wiping out ecosystems, and disease being just a few. Another is that perhaps these varying species of human did not get along. Maybe our ancestors saw them as enemies to be wiped from the earth. If we saw Homo erectus and other species as a threat, perhaps the Uncanny Valley is a biological response to warn of human-like creatures. Another explanation is a more existential one. Nobody likes to think about it that much, but one day both you and I will come to an end. Bodies yellow or turn pale when someone passes and the blood drains from their face. Flesh rots away, giving the impression of a ghastly big teeth and elongated claws. First and foremost, humans are animals, and, as with any animal, we want to stay alive for as long as possible. It's worth considering, then, that maybe the fear of an unsettling being is a biological warning of disease and death. This, again, can be seen with zombies, whether it's the twisted monsters from Evil Dead or mutations like the Resident Evil games. I personally believe that the latter are the scarier ones. Aside from mutants like tyrants, these zombies usually resemble humans, but with necrotic flesh and human, not demonic faces. Dead bodies carry diseases, not to mention the obvious gross factor of essentially rotting meat of someone similar to you by way of existence. So your body and your mind want you to stay as far away as possible. Now that we've gone through some reasons for the Uncanny Valley and the uncomfortable feelings it causes, maybe next time you see that clown statue in the dark corner of your grandma's kitchen, you won't be so scared. Or, wait, when did she get that statue? And why is it so lifelike?